Hello and welcome to the AdVentures podcast. I'm your host, Dineo Mashiani, and I'm thrilled to take you on a journey through the dynamic world of communications and advertising. Each episode, I'll explore captivating topics, chat with industry experts, and uncover the secrets behind successful campaigns. The ACA's mission through this podcast is to inform, educate, and entertain you. So whether you're a lifelong learner or just curious, join me for an exciting adventure. Alrighty, hello and welcome back to yet another episode of the AdVentures podcast. I am your host, Dineo Mashiani, and of course today I am joined by a special guest, founder of an amazing agency, Lobengula Agency, and a powerhouse of a woman. Brenda Khumalo is joining us today, and I hope you are doing well. How are you, Brenda?
Oh, hello, Tino. Thank you for having me. I am well. Now that we've passed our weird greetings, our compliments, compliments of the year,
Yes.
26. But we did make a promise that this is the last week. We have opportunity to wish anybody Happy New Year since it's the last week of February. But yes, thank you for having me. I'm well. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Definitely. No, as long as you haven't seen anybody in the new year, it's still Happy New Year until June, even maybe sometimes.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Yeah.
Well, it's lovely to have you here, Brenda. I don't know, I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Could you tell us a little bit more about who you are and before we get into the nick of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Brenda Khumalo, as you know, and I am a mom of, the roles. I play a few roles in my life and in my existence. And one of the roles that I'm honored to play is I'm a mother to two beautiful girls, Nandi and Busa, 4 and 9. And I'm also a wife to a wonderful man, Togozani Khumalo. And of course, I am a businesswoman, a business leader, a leader to many great, amazing, talented human beings at the agency. Also very honored and grateful to play that role. And of course, a friend, a daughter. But I am Durban born and raised. Moved to Johannesburg to kind of pursue and further my career in advertising in Johannesburg. Cheap as it was many years ago now in 2005. So, but I am a Zulu girl, a KZN girl. Started my advertising career at Ogilvy Durban and was lucky enough to get a transfer to Ogilvy Joburg when I had the desire to make it big in advertising, and I knew I needed to move to Joburg in order to actually achieve that ambition. And that's how I ended up in Joburg and started most of my career within the WPP network, actually, because I was an Ogilvy child. Very grateful for that and learned a great deal. So outside of that, yeah, I'm a mom. I'm a person who just loves to have fun, even though I have a very high work ethic and high standards of performance. But I love doing it while having fun, while having some laughs, while having some jabs, just, to keep things light. I love keeping things light. So I don't take myself too seriously. Yeah.
Definitely. No, a good balance is needed in life. Otherwise, life would be dull and boring, right?
Absolutely. What would be the point of living,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. Now, Brenda, that's quite the life journey that you've had, and I want to know if you are ready. The way that we run things on this show is that we have a bit of an icebreaker as well, just before we get into the questions, the
Yeah.
really fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're not familiar, the game is two truths and one lie. You have to
Yeah.
provide me with two truths and one lie, and I have to guess and use my woman's intuition to see how great or powerful it is, and see if I can guess which one is the lie and which is the truth, right? And also to get to know you a bit better. So, yeah, I mean, when you are ready, if you are ready, I can give you 2 minutes
Yeah.
to think about it. and then we can go
Okay.
off.
Two truths and one lie, right? So let's see. I used to sing and dance, and I used to perform most weekends in when I was a teenager, growing up. I grew up in a in an area called Wentworth, which is a colored township, and I was expelled from school when I was in grade 10 for
Sure.
reasons which I can't state at the moment.
Wow.
Which one do you think?
Okay.
Which are
Sure.
true?
Those are difficult, Brenda. Oh, those are so difficult.
Aren't they meant to be difficult? That's part of the
I
whole,
think yes,
right?
it is, but I think like you might catch me out this week. I've been on a very good roll with these two truths and one lie games. So your ones are quite difficult, but the performing one, the Durban girlies definitely love, that scene, performing, kolekgom, I know hore di a ntsha there. So um I
Mhm,
want to say during your teen years, you did a bit of performing, um, you know,
mhm.
whether it was dancing or singing. Um, ooh, getting expelled from school in grade 10. Expelled or suspended?
Oh, expelled.
Okay, okay. Um, hmm. Oh, these are difficult. Okay, let me go with the truth is the one about performing and also, sure, being expelled. And then the lie has to, the lie might be growing up in, he said it was Wentworth, I think,
Wentworth, yeah. Or-
Wentworth.
Yeah. No,
Hmm.
the lie is being expelled. But I get it because I was so convincing in the way because I was so specific
Yes,
in grade 10. That's part
you
of the
were.
whole trick to trick you.
Oh, you caught me out. You really caught me out today.
Not
My
at
streak
all.
is gone, finished.
No, I was too much of a goody. In school, I was too much of a, and also I was very scared of my mom and dad to even get into trouble in school, which made me a bit of a nerd in school, but that's okay. I made up for it after school.
You definitely made up for it.
I did make up for it. But now, yes, but the truth is that I was part of an after school care program where we grew up in an area called Wentworth or Wenties. It's also known as Wenties. And it was at the time, when we lived there with my family, a place filled with a lot of, I think, drug and alcohol abuse, when we would be going to school back and forth. And there was a program which was part of the community created by this lovely woman, Patricia Dove, and other women within the community. And it was intended to keep the children out of trouble, right? So that you don't engage
Yeah.
in and or be tempted to go down that kind of road. So literally it was performance arts. Every day after school, we would meet at the community center and we would sing, dance, perform, any form of performance arts. And then we would get opportunities to go and perform at actual events on the weekends. And it is a huge part of my upbringing and shaped a lot. And I think it also shaped a lot of my confidence and who I am because being on a public stage is something that was engraved in me from an early age. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, no, that's incredible. That is so incredible. I mean, sure. I think the creativity bug has had you from a young age now that I'm seeing that it has had you from a very young age then.
Yeah, it definitely did. I think so. I mean, it was so nice because my younger sister, me, we were part of she was also part of the group. And it was coming up, creating our own songs. It was fun. We'd write our own songs, we'd get to perform them, dance routines. Right up until I went to tertiary, that was something I was part of. Yeah.
Cool. Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Brilliant. All right. Now we're going into the thick of things, getting into the questions. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so hopping into the questions, you did touch on your first in your career, you started off in Ogilvy, right?
Yes.
And I think this touches on that part, but yeah, I think it would be nice to get a refresher and know what was your first job and how did you get there from Ogilvy to now founding Lobengula Advertising?
Yeah. No, thank you. Definitely, I really do believe, I believe that very few things happen by coincidence. So, firstly, I just want to say that when I look at my journey and my career journey, I feel that it was a path that, was always set for me to walk, and how I ended up working at Ogilvy Durban is I was looking for kind of temporary work, and I was hired by a PR agency that was based within the Ogilvy Durban premises, like they kind of shared office space. The agency was called Firstfeld and Associates. And I was hired to there for 3 months to really just call VIP kind of clients, because it was actually for the opening of the Sibaya Casino, the Sun International Sibaya
Sure.
Casino that was about to open. And I was there to call their valuable members, VIP members, to make sure that they've RSVP'd or make sure and manage the guest list. And in between my time there, I obviously got to meet other people within the office. And without realizing, I'd have regular conversations with a lovely guy called John Gell. And I found out right at the end that John Gell was actually the managing director of Ogilvy Durban, which, cringe, because there were days where I would show up on a Monday and I'm chatting to him. I mean, I was 20 years old, and he'd ask me how was my weekend. I'd be like, oh, so hungover. My friends and I like jolled this weekend. John, how was your weekend? He kind of just became a buddy of mine. And only to find out right at the end of, the contracts, I said to him, hey, John, it was so nice to know you, man. Today's my last day. And I just want to say thank you and all the best. And then he asked me if, we'd really love to interview me for a junior account executive role within the Ogilvy.
Wow.
And then I was like, oh, and he's like, yeah, I'm the managing director of Ogilvy. I was like, oh my God. All this time. There was the naiveness or the ignorance, I don't know, but everything was just so easy going with him at the time. And he really did interview me, and he hired me. And that's how my journey started. I actually worked on the Sun International accounts. At that time, we were doing physical, direct mailers, which was actually a really cool time because we would have to do those on a monthly basis where we would send communications to the customers of, Sun International with all the
Yeah.
amazing deals that month, that they stand to chance to win this and win that, just come to the casino, blah, blah, blah. And we would always have to conceptualize these amazing physical mailers that would be physically posted. I mean, how amazing. And every time there was a new concept from creative, and then the print production guys would have to make it happen, package it, get it to. So it was really, really a while ago, and it was fun. And 3 years later, I moved to Joburg with the help of John Gell. He kind of understood when I asked it to him, listen, I really want to move to Joburg. And he reached out to the team at Ogilvy Joburg, and together made it happen, wrote me an amazing reference letter, and I ended up in Joburg. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yes, the other part of your question was the road leading to becoming founding Lobengula. I think what I would say is that I've always had a deep ambition, and I realized really, really quickly that I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to do and what I was born to do, being in advertising. I truly believe that, and I still truly believe that, because I really do love what I do, with all its challenges, with all its not so great days sometimes. But I do believe that I'm blessed enough to be doing exactly what I've always wanted to do. And so with that ambition, I've always also had the desire to start my own thing, and it became stronger and stronger, as I grew
Sure.
within the advertising industry. But that thing called fear that holds you back into doing anything, because one of my biggest fears was, people thinking, who does she think she is?
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, it's like even me asking myself, who do you think you are to think you can start your own agency? So that was a big fear. But something significant happened at the start of COVID in my life, and a changing point in my life and perspective, which then just led me to go, it's now or never, and I went for it. Yeah.
sure. That's incredible. What an incredible journey. And just going back to how you were speaking about, you would just like chat to John and, as if you guys are buddies.
Oh, he's
It just
amazing.
shows that,
Yeah,
being your most authentic self is what gets you the job.
100%. 100%. And I was
Definitely.
maybe too authentic, in my younger years. But he was just, he's one of the most, I would say, made a big impact in my career. He was my first advertising boss, and he just embraced, showing up as yourself, fully as yourself. He for me embodied all of that. He didn't just say it. It's how
Yeah.
he encouraged us, because then there was a few other girls that we became very close with, friends, Londega, the other girls that I met at the agency, who we were in our early 20s, like just beginning. I remember
Yeah.
my 21st, I turned 21. I was the youngest person at the agency. They threw me a 21st party. It was just
Wow.
amazing. And but he truly, truly embraced that. And that's one of the most phenomenal things that I'll forever be grateful for. So it gave me a sense of comfort and a sense of the importance of, to be truly, I think, also being good within the advertising landscape. I do think that authenticity is everything, and also
Mm,
surrounding yourself with people who actually truly mean it when they say show up as your authentic self, because it's said a lot, but is it really always welcome? And yeah, John is great. I mean,
mm.
I met up with him when I was in Durban this last December, just because we hadn't seen each other in so many years, and it was good to see him. And we actually spoke about those conversations about hangovers.
Oh, shame. Oh,
We had
no,
good
man.
laughs. Yeah, it was good to connect. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. Now, getting into our next question, you said that Lobengula it kicked off, during COVID,
Yeah.
So is there sort of like a story behind the name of choosing the name Lobengula for your agency? And what does it represent for you?
Yeah, the agency was formally formed. I think it's been 5 years now, right? Which is crazy to imagine. And definitely the meaning behind, the direct meaning, it's really named after King Lobengula Khumalo, right? It's the clan praise name of the Khumalo people, and I am Brenda Khumalo, of course.
Wow.
I'm even though by marriage, I am Khumalo, and I really loved when you look at the history of King Lobengula and his dad being the notorious Mzilikazi, and
Mm,
Mzilikazi being the right hand to Shaka Zulu, right? And when you look at the history of them as warriors in that time, one of the greatest, meaning that the way that they went to war, you know they really came up with kind of new strategies, introduced new actual tactics, on how to conquer and win, over your enemy. And that required a lot of creativity. It required new thinking. It required new space, for new energy. And much like the industry, for
mhm.
me, it's how I felt at the time, is that an injection of something different, because
Yeah.
it just felt like, it is starting to look the same and feel the same in many aspects, in terms of, the kind of the kind of agency types maybe that are out there, and the kind of positionings that are out there. And I've always felt that there's so much more opportunity for kind of new players with the new ways of doing things, or to introduce new tactics, new strategies, new purpose, new. And when this was like 5 years, 6 years ago, and when I look at now, I mean, it's incredible how many independent agencies have actually come into market. It is beautiful to see. There are so many. There's District 9. There's We Are Bizarre with Melissa and them. There's obviously Advertise, like Godfather, and Duke Agency, and there's just so many, and there's more and more and more coming. And my view is that is the future, and it does also give clients the opportunity to, I think, a wider kind of diversity in terms of options for clients, and I think it also just gives agencies that sense of identity and uniqueness in their propositions. Yeah.
Definitely. No, it's incredible. I mean, the name itself has power. I think my generation would say the name has aura, so it definitely has aura behind it. So,
Thank
I
you.
mean, it's just incredible. So incredible.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Now, what's one piece of advice you wish you could give to yourself on the day you first opened Lobengula's doors? Taking you
Oh,
back now.
taking it back, I think I wish that as much as, exterior wise, I do, I think represents confidence. And I am more confident interior now than I was when I started, and I think speaking to just backing yourself and believing that it's a greater purpose, there's a greater good, there's a greater force, and I think it took me some time in understanding myself and knowing myself, and just from some of the great people that surround me, or my tribe, my network of people that I seek, advice from, in their counsel or seek counsel, in understanding that actually my purpose and my story within what I'm doing with the agency and my career, it's much bigger than me. It's a much bigger than me. It's a much higher power, because there are times where, of course, you put in the work for action to happen, absolutely. And there are times where, or there's been times where, you feel so overwhelmed, as an entrepreneur, that and you're working around the clock to put things in place, or fix things, or change things, or put systems in place, and things fall into place. And some moments I would sit and think, jeepers, that was like 95% me, and then 5% higher being, like
Yeah.
force. And depending on what your beliefs are, for me, that's my ancestral, lineage. That's like,
Yeah.
when I said to you, something significant happened. That was the turning point. Was my dad passed on, from COVID
Sure.
right at the beginning of COVID, and he was a trained teacher, and he taught Afrikaans, right? But then
Wow.
he quit because at heart he was an entrepreneur, to go and pursue his entrepreneurial journey. And I 100% understand that even more now than I did initially. That was passed on to me. That's why I'm saying there's a greater force, a greater good, a bigger power, that of course comes in with that percentage to just help you. I wish I had a stronger belief in that when I started. It would have saved me a lot of anxiety as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, condolences on that. But, I believe that he is looking down on you, and,
Thank
with
you.
all the great
No,
things that are coming towards Lobengula, it's definitely top notch.
Thank you so much. Definitely, his presence is felt every day. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Now, what I know, one thing that I noted you guys that you were a Standard Bank Top Woman Entrepreneur winner of 2024. So you won that award. You did
Yeah.
that, right? So I wanted to know, what does it mean, winning that award, as a founder of a majority female-led agency, correct?
Yeah, it was affirming. Hey, I gotta tell you, I was like jumping up and I was bouncing actually, not jumping. That night when I won that, it was just the awards that you win, and there there's recognition, but I think that specific award and recognition, to be crowned the 2024/5 top woman entrepreneur of the year, it was a validation and affirmation of me as an entrepreneur. Do you know,
Mm,
to say that, wow, I actually have done this, and it was looking back of the journey and the blood, sweat, and tears and the grits, and the sleepless nights and the compromises, because these are all the things that I don't think are spoken about enough. I don't want to call it the dark side of entrepreneurship, but it is absolutely not a walk in the park, right?
yeah, yeah.
Sacrifices, especially when you are also have other responsibilities, like little humans, and there's always going to be a compromise to family. There's always going to be a compromise. There's always going to be a compromise. And in that moment, standing there with my team, and some of my family members were there that night, there was just no words. It felt surreal, but it was real, and it was the biggest validation anybody could have ever given me for this journey that I embarked on. Yeah.
Wow, no, definitely amazing. Ah, wow, I'm getting goosebumps. And I love that you reflected on the fact that I don't want to necessarily call it a dark side of entrepreneurship, but a lot of people just think, you know what, being an entrepreneur is like easy work, like one, two, three, go. And it's not. There's always like pros and cons to everything. So I just love that you also touched on that point that there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's just not you come
It
up with an
really
idea
is.
one day and it just flows from there. There's
100.
effort every
Yeah,
single day.
lots of efforts. It says to you, you've got to be very clear that this is something that you want to do, and you've got to be willing to put in not just the work, but to go all in. And it's got to be a dream of yours, I think.
Mm.
Otherwise, and a passion, a deep sense of passion, because it's just not going to make sense why you give so much of yourself and your mental states as well sometimes. um, and I think it's something that if you are going to do it, you need to make sure that the industry that you want to be, an entrepreneur in, is something that you deeply love. You've got to love it. You've got to love this thing,
The
and you've got
passion has to be there.
it has to be absolutely there, because it becomes your whole world. It really does. It consumes you. You consumed in it. In order for it to at least work, you have to go all in. So you've got to love it. It's got to make sense. And I think you've got to have a bit of a talent for it. When they say that
Mm.
born entrepreneurs, I really do believe so. I'm not saying that you can't learn to be an entrepreneur. Of course you can, and you can, um, at a later stage in your life, become an entrepreneur and be good at it. But there are also people who just have a natural. It's just
Knack
natural.
for it. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just and I think, yeah, I really think for me that was also the case. I didn't realize until I started doing it that it came somewhat a bit natural. Even in that, it wasn't easy. It's still not easy. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
But it's
I
rewarding,
definitely hear that.
but super
Very
rewarding.
important to know.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so you sit on the ACA board,
Yeah.
and Do you mind telling us a little bit more about your involvement with the ACA, seeing as you're on our podcast?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the ACA I've been part of for a few cycles now in terms of my board membership. And I also sit on I have the responsibility of being part of the education tribe, which is led by Roxana. And it's honestly just the way that I see my involvement with the broader ACA is an opportunity to be part of shaping, part of, with other industry peers, shaping and this industry that we all love, making sure that, the regulations make sense. At least it gives me the opportunity to give my voice
Yeah.
towards shaping it for the greater good of our industry. And I think, like I said to you earlier on, this is an industry that yes, one could say stumbled upon, but actually I do think it was the industry, it was part of my life path. And I
Mm,
have a huge, incredible love for this industry. And being part of the ACA allows me or gives me the opportunity to almost kind of like preserve it, do you know?
yeah.
And show that for the generations to come that are joining this industry, it's preserved, but also it's in good standing, and
Yeah.
taken care of through, industry bodies like ours. And then, of course, I love, kind of mentoring young people, and being on the education tribe allows me to do exactly that, because some of our responsibilities within that is a program called Gen Era, right, where
Hmm.
it's created and designed for young people in advertising across the multiple disciplines. But you've got to be like 5 years and below, so just pretty new or junior. And we host these kind of events where they get inspired, they get to kind of network with other industry peers, and be mentored even in some instances. And I think it's just from an early stage, showing the younger generation within the industry that the importance of community, because again, it can be a tough industry to come into and navigate,
Mm,
and figuring out, if you're ambitious, how you're going to get to this role in 5 years' time. And I think being part of a network like that and being part of a community like that kind of helps you, navigate. It makes things a little bit easier in navigating your way in this industry. And then, of course, there's also programs like the Women in Leadership, which is just absolutely phenomenal. The woman in my agency, I think actually most of them have gone. We've applied for 2 more for this year's program. I think they are the only 2, but that's because they joined the agency last year. But literally, um, most of the women in the agency have joined and have been part
sure.
of this program. I was part of this program in 2018, which is life changing, actually, with Sharon Bergman
Wow.
at the ACA. She and I, we did that program, and it was just life changing. So I'm a huge fan of that program, and I always send some of the females in the agency. So it's a focus on more younger kind of generation, youth, education, and just preserving our industry and the talents and growing it and nurturing it. Yeah,
Definitely contributing to the growth of the industry is super
100%.
splendid work. I mean,
Absolutely.
incredible.
We all have the responsibility to do so, Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, between running Lobengula and your committee involvement, I mean, you're clearly very invested in raising industry standards. So, what does excellence in advertising mean to you?
Yeah, it's that word excellence, I had to
Preach.
I you know for me, creative excellence is everything, and I think it's not something that you can ever say that you've fully achieved. I think it's something that you can pursue every single day, so for me, it speaks to consistency at the agency. And how we define it is, you've got to be first and foremost actually be self-motivated, right? But remember, external motivation is important, yes, but it means nothing if you yourself are not a self-motivated person. Now, it doesn't mean that you are a robot and when you are going through different cycles in your life, that's not going to sometimes,
Mm.
have an impact on how motivated I feel today. Oh, it's been a bit of a shit week, so my self-motivation is not really at a 10 out of 10 today, and that's
Yeah.
okay. So, but I'm saying in general, you should be somebody who absolutely knows how to self-motivate themselves. That's number one. And then, of course, supported by the external motivation, whether that's within your agency or your peers or your family, the people around you. And then I think consistency and work ethic is everything for me, because as you all know, and people say it all the time, is that you can teach, but you can't teach. You can teach somebody how to learn a new skill, right? But it's
Mm.
very difficult to teach somebody how to be motivated. You can't, it's to have a good work ethic, to be disciplined enough to be consistent, to show
Yeah.
up. When you show up, you really show up. So all of those kind of foundational, I think, personality traits for me are quite important, because it kind of helps set you up. The rest of the stuff becomes easier because you can
Mm.
learn. If you have the hunger to, it's easy for you to learn um those new skills. And then, of course, you've got to be in this thing. Like I said, you've got to love this industry. You've got to love the work. You've got to have fun in creating the work. I always tell the team, and it's so easy to see when you're reviewing a piece of work, because in a day I'll have review slots with the teams across different projects that they're working on, and they've obviously been walking the journey with our creative leaders, Gamo and Steph, because they are the creative leaders of the agency. And by the time it's coming to myself and like my strategy partner 18, we're sitting through it, and it's so interesting to see the different dynamics. Sometimes you'll see a certain team coming in full energy, selling this thing, and their energy and their fun in how they show up and present their work shows. Do you know? And
Yeah.
then you've got
Yeah.
another team maybe who isn't really as demonstrative or showcasing the passion and the fun that went into. So I always say that the sell of your work is as equally as important as the creation stage of your work, because you can go through so much creating, but unfortunately lose it at that moment when you have to sell the work. And I think what a lot of people maybe don't realize is that our clients, marketers, I think they enjoy having that moment and time with the agencies. It's fun.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to keep things a bit light, whilst you are working hard. And I think
Yeah.
you should be having fun. Otherwise, I think it does show in the work when you stop having fun. And nobody wants that. Nobody
Yeah.
wants that. And it becomes too serious and the work is stiff. Therefore, we must be open for what others think are very crazy ideas. But that's part of having fun. You throw the craziest idea on the table, and we can all have a good laugh and build on that. But it often kind of leads you in the right direction, at least, and something that's going to be unique enough, in the markets or in the category that represents your clients. So I think there is a excellent ingredient to try and
Mm.
answer your points in summary. But for me, there's few things that make that up. There are some that are start with self, and then there are others that you can learn to be consistently good at, and develop if you don't already have them. Yeah.
Sure. Wow. Now I'm taking a lot of what do you call this? Notes and just like, clip notes on the side and keeping them and storing them in my brain
Oh,
because you have so much to offer.
thank you so much, Dee. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, we've spoken about fun, we've spoken about contributing to growth and education and the empowerment of women as well, and I just want to know what legacy do you hope or do you want to leave, both through Lobengula and your broader industry work?
Sure, yeah, it's very interesting, and it's a big question, because
Mm,
I think it has changed um, more recently in terms of that question and how I want to answer it. I, it's so hard. To answer you, earlier on, I said to you, one of my fears with starting an agency was that thought of who does she think she is. And a lot of that also came from the fact that even though I'd had at the time over 15 years, at the time when I started over 15 years advertising experience, um, I felt that because it was in a department or discipline like client service, there would be a lot of undermining in terms of me being a creative agency leader. Do you know? Which I
mm,
think is a shame because um, I've worked on many amazing big brands. One of them being the Vodacom account, which I worked on for 5 years, and I managed the biggest part of that business. And, together with the agency and my team, we grew and we did a lot of amazing things. I've worked on big financial services brands. I've worked on, and I'm not the kind of person, I was never the kind of client service person that was not part and integrated within the creative process. And yes, sometimes maybe there are those who my job ends at putting in the brief and stepping back. No, for me, what I loved and what I still enjoy is the process of creating. That was the best part. Outside of making sure that our client relationships were in great and our clients felt taken care of and they felt safe, with the agency. But what I enjoy the most is creating. So
mm.
one of my biggest joyful moments within the agency is solving the brief. And when we have discussions like that, and I honestly light up, when we're having those conversations, strategy, creative, and trying to find the best solution for our clients or for that brief. And those are one of my most joyful moments. And because of that, I feel that my legacy would be one of them. I think we can have more than one, would be within the context of this industry is to be, a respected creative leader, and doesn't matter, whether my background within the creative agencies was of client service. No, to be respected as a leader of a creative agency and in creativity is what is I think is one of the legacies that I'd love to leave. Yeah, at the mark I'd love to leave, and I think it's also in the work that we would get to produce as the agency, and we have been putting out, some great pieces of work, and we have more stuff that we've been working on, and we're excited that will come out. And I think that is kind of like the positioning me as a leader that I'm focusing on. Really just, I think, having views and thought and sharing my opinions around certain pieces of work that I've seen. And also, I think judging platforms like the One Show, I judged that last year, and I'm judging the Garrity Awards this year as well, where you're looking at a pool of creative work from a global perspective, like
Yeah.
mind-blowing pieces of work that you get to go through, and you are inspired, and you just like you want to know how you can bring this back to the team and what we can learn from this and how we can apply this type of thinking into our day-to-days as well. So really, Dinelle, I think my core passion is in the creating part of the process, and
Yeah.
therefore I want to leave a legacy of a respected creative leader in the industry. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You can't see me now, but I'm clapping my hands. You can't hear it. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, we're kind of getting into the wrap up of things. Uh,
Mhm.
just have a few more questions to get through. The next one is, in your perspective, how should SA agencies lead with authentic storytelling amid AI and short form content?
How should I
Thoughts?
say our agencies lead? with authentic storytelling?
Authentic storytelling. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just being, I think it's, I would say one way is the team members in your team, all right? Remember how we spoke about John Gell and that big thing he did for me by giving me a space to be
Yeah.
truly authentically me. And I think that's an important thing. If you want, there must be a space for people to be authentically themselves. So meaning that the different voices, different ideas must be embraced and welcomed. And of course, though somebody's got to keep structure and clarity on where we're going, which is what creative leadership is for, to identify those special nuggets and help the teams and shape it to grow it into something bigger. So firstly, I think the diversity and representation in your team members, I think will always then land authentic pieces of work because you've got the voices, got the people from different backgrounds, different families, different life experiences that truly make us all South African collectively, right? So you can't say that, you know, our job is to come up with authentic South African stories when your team members does not represent that. That's problem number one. And then I think within even a short film, and I mean we love that stuff, you know, the film with the production part of the business. With AI, you know, my gosh, AI is becoming, you know, that word, remember digital for years.
Yes, I hear it.
Oh gosh, it's that, but it is important. And the thing about AI is that it's changing so quickly and evolving so quickly. And I think platforms like the ACA, and I know there are many masterclasses that are underway and are happening to kind of help us keep ahead. You know, so I think as a company, as an agency, it's quite important, and we all have the responsibility to bring our teams for the journey as quickly and as fast as it is evolving in terms of training, because there are some great training platforms as well, and places where I think there's a team in Cape Town that we use. Is it called again? Robots something. Sorry, I forgot the name, but he's great. I'll send it to you. He's amazing. And his team, and they do training courses, they do prompting courses, because I think if you can master, I think right now my biggest focus is mastering being a great prompter, right? Even me, I'm learning that and training.
Prompt engineering.
It is prompt engineer. I think it is everything, because you can understand the tools and the software, but if you don't know how to actually prompt really, really well, I think that's where the issue becomes. So I do think that there's a way to integrate that into South African storytelling, and I think it can work together. One of the toughest things for me to navigate that I'm finding really hard though at the moment is on social platforms, wherever it is, if you're just scrolling, and it's just becoming really difficult to tell what's
to tell the difference. Yes.
Yeah. Even in like whether it's news or whatever, it's a little bit scary, you know, because some people believe it, even when it's actually not. This is not real news. No, this really didn't happen. So it is kind of scary in that sense to see what's going to happen in terms of what real and what isn't. And remember that general South Africans might not always have the eye to immediately
pick it up.
AI generated. So I think it's scary from that sense. But I also don't believe, Dee, that sense and wanting of true authentic storytelling will ever go away, because I feel that as human beings, it's how we are wired.
Yes.
We long for that.
100%.
We long for that. It's something we resonate with that is truly and deeply human. I just don't see how that could ever be lost, you know? So we'll see. All we can do is evolve with it, learn as much as we can, empower our teams and bring them along for the journey, and try and stay ahead as much as possible. And also stay true. I think brands need to stay true to who they are as well, with the support of technology, of course, okay, to enhance all of that. Yeah.
Most definitely. Now, We're almost finished. So the next one is, since you are part of the ACA committee and you work with Gen Era a lot, there was a Gen
Yeah.
Era event that took place just earlier on in the month, and I just kind of want to know from you what stood out from the Gen Era masterclass with the Broke Boys.
So as much as I was in the planning of everything, obviously that event, unfortunately, I could
Yeah.
not be there. That's the one I had to miss because I had a massive shoot.
Oh,
As obviously as an indie agency, that comes with running, a business. However, obviously because we prepped for it for months ahead, in part
yeah,
the Duke agency, Wayne Naidu and his team, first and foremost, just phenomenal. Honestly, they immediately got the assignment. They got what the Gen Era brand is intended to achieve and what it is and what it's not. And they then came back with ideas because they were the hosting agency on, we would like to have a panel discussion with this team called the Broke Boys, and this is why, and this is what they are all about, and I just thought it was brilliant. But I think one of the key things and what that was intended to do was to kind of give inspiration around, I would say, and having a I would say having an entrepreneurship mindset, not necessarily
yeah,
saying become an entrepreneur, but
yes,
you carry a mindset of a startup, like brands, if they carry a mindset of a startup, or you don't lose a mindset of a startup or mindset of an entrepreneur. For me, it speaks to you becoming your best version of yourself. And I think
yeah,
they are obviously such in the cultural kind of knowing, and they've made a really, really success of themselves.
mm,
And they're quite famous, they make the best merch and so forth. And I think it was an exciting panel to have, because I think the younger generation in advertising just felt, wow, you know what, if these guys can make it, and they did not have to change who they are. Think about it, they're authentic.
yeah,
They don't change the way they dress. They don't dim their lights, or when they walk into corporate spaces or corporate meetings, suddenly having to wear suits. No,
yeah,
they are they not only physically are represented in who they are, but in the way they carry themselves. And I think it was a good message to send to the younger guys around that whole point of authenticity and remaining true to yourself is quite important. And of course, on how to be the best version of yourself, how to push yourself.
yeah,
You got to push yourself, hey? If you want to be
yeah,
better, you want to be good, or you want to be great, rather, you want to be better than, and compete at a better level, you've got to push yourself.
sure,
You've got to go beast mode. And I think conversations and inspiration from a team like the Broke Boys, and their story and their journey, and how they've made it to where they've made it, and some of their challenges and all of that, it just serves as inspiration to motivate and hopefully inspire. It seems like people really enjoyed it as well. So I think it did
yeah.
serve a purpose, but it does mean that, jeepers, we have to top that one, the next Gen Era events.
Can't
Because
wait, can't wait.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Joburg crew is waiting. The Joburg audience, we're
I
all waiting.
know. The Cape Town one was, oh my God, it was so amazing.
Yeah, definitely,
It really was.
definitely. No
Yeah,
pressure, no
yeah,
pressure. Okay,
definitely.
now, last one. If you could fast forward to the next major milestone for Lobengula, what would make you say, we've truly changed the game? What's that next milestone that would make you feel that way or make you say that?
Sure.
No
I
pressure.
think, yeah, it's a big question, but I think one of our visions, or our intentions for coming into the new year, is we felt the shift last year in our business, and that shift being like, we are absolutely poised for growth. That's undeniable. It's about how do you then take all of these great working components and um while you are scaling up, making sure that it scales in a way that, that makes sense, and everything works the way it's supposed to work. And I think one of my biggest focuses is that it's scaling, and making sure that the trajectory of the agency while scaling is upward.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got, working with great, even outside people, bringing them in who are experts in that, because it's also okay to bring in experts, in scaling businesses of our type, of our kind, to kind of navigate, because there's so many important things in scaling, is that the team communication, right, as you grow even bigger, has to be so clear and right. So that's a lot of culture work. That's a lot of understanding each other as a team, personalities. And so we're doing a whole thing for our teams where it's called an Enneagram. We're working with a lady called Anne, and she's kind of giving my team a definition, understanding each person's kind of unique strengths and how we bring that together in optimizing and working better with each other, right? So that's one layer. I've done that already for the management team, right? And then there's a whole big piece on the operations side. And as we are scaling, to make sure that it's sustained, and if not improved, even to be better, because, scaling can be dangerous if these components are not intact and the teams are in sync. So that's one of our biggest things. And of course, pushing ourselves even further in creativity, and not being afraid to play with other kids, and, just tapping into somebody. Hey, we really loved what you did there. Could we show you what we trying to do here? Give us your advice. What's your view on this? Because that's only better. For me, I want us to be great. I want to get better. I want to grow. I want us to grow. And I think it also means playing, with other kids and not being afraid to do that. Yeah, in order for the greater good. So yes, there's a lot of moving parts, but the word is scale. That's where we're headed. Yeah.
Love it. Excited to see it.
Thank you so
wow.
much.
And that just brings us to the end of the interview. It literally flew by. So, wow,
so
kudos to you. It was a lot of fun, a lot of learning, a lot of inspiration is taken from this, and I hope it'll do the same for our audience. I trust it will. So.
Thank you so much, Diane. You were just amazing, and you just made it so easy to chat to you. Didn't even feel like I did feel like it went so quickly, but yeah, it's very easy to you. And I really love your podcast, and I can't wait to see this one.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Brenda. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the AdVentures podcast. I hope you enjoyed our journey through the world of communications and advertising. If you found this episode informative and entertaining, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners just like you. Don't forget to follow us on social media at ACA South Africa and visit our website www.acasa.co.za for updates and behind-the-scenes content. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the fascinating world of communications and advertising.